Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Board of Carroll County Commissioners open session for Thursday, August 22nd, 2024. We'll begin this morning with the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, it certainly feels like fall today, and the weather is beautiful. Commissioner Kyler had a conflict, so everybody's stuck with me running the meeting today, and I apologize for that in advance. So first up, we have Priority Carroll, and Commissioner Guerin, would you like to kick us off today?
Sure, I'd be happy to. Good morning, Carroll County. Just extremely brief. Looking forward to seeing everybody tonight. We start at 6 o'clock over at the Ag Center, and we've got the weather working in our favor, so I hope everybody can make it. That's it.
Commissioner Gordon?
Thank you. I've got a couple things this morning. I'll just echo Commissioner Guerin's comments, and we look forward to seeing everybody tonight. And obviously, we've received a lot of emails and phone calls regarding the concerns to date, but we do look forward to everybody this evening. And I've got a couple things I wanted to bring up this morning. First and foremost, Mission Barbecue has announced that they will be selling the Red Hometown Hero Cups in honor of the Carroll County FOP Lodge 20 and Maryland Fire Rescue Services Memorial. This is going to run from August 11th to September 11th, and is a great opportunity to give back and support those two organizations. So just want to thank Mission Barbecue as they do so heavily support our community. Secondly, just want to mention briefly, there is a Civil War Symposium that's being held Saturday, September 28th. This is sponsored by the Carroll Community College, the Historical Society of Carroll County, and the Carroll County Public Library. You can look online for additional information regarding this symposium, but this is the first symposium in several years, and I think this will be a wonderful event to attend. Also wanted to congratulate Westminster Automotive Tire Pros on their incredible mural that's currently, they're over towards Sweet Bay, if you happen to know where that is in Westminster. This is an incredible mural that was been worked on over the last few weeks. Michael Cooper, the owner of Westminster Automotive Tires, even included in the bottom right corner his grandparents as an honor and tribute to them. And the mural was painted by local artist Dom Jones from Custom Murals and Portraits. So it's nice to see some additional highlights in our community, and always good to see another mural around the county. Also wanted to mention, and I know some people had brought this up recently, the Carroll County Tourism Office has moved to the Farm Museum. Met some people over there yesterday, had a nice time talking to one of our volunteers working in the tourism center. So definitely someplace, not just for Carroll County tourism, but also some of our surrounding counties. There's a lot of information. I actually stopped in and picked a few things up myself. So definitely something, stop in, talk to our volunteers over there, and find more out about Carroll County. Last week also was the Carroll Biz Challenge. Just wanted to mention that real quick. The Chamber of Commerce held that, and the grand prize winner was Beer Bath. The People's Choice winner was Rachel's Bears, and the United Way Changemaker winner was Movers and Shakers Enterprises. So congratulations to everybody that won, but also thank you to all the participants that are attending and looking to start business in our community. Much appreciation there. One other quick thing, which unfortunately is a little less positive, but want to make sure everybody's aware, Westminster Police Department had put out that there are a number of recent thefts, so please lock your vehicles, be aware of what you leave in your vehicles, because the most recent number of these incidents have pretty much been circumstantial based on opportunity. And last but certainly not least, and this happened last night, I want to thank the volunteers, the Westminster Fire Department, Carroll County Fire and EMS, and also Maryland State Police that were involved with this. There was a accident of a vehicle collision on 140 near Sullivan Road last night. Some people might have witnessed some pretty heavy white smoke. There was one car that was burned up in total. Luckily, 2 people had minor injuries and were taken to local hospital. So thank you to everybody involved for looking out for our community, and that's all I have today. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Gordon. Commissioner Rothstein?
Okay, 3 things. One, had the opportunity to listen and learn from Commissioner Vigliotti during his breakfast talk at the Chamber of Commerce up in Tawny Town's library and public library. Always impressed with my colleague and what he has to share, from the New York City planning to the impact that we have on our community and all the things in coming together, which leads us into tonight as we've shared, this NPRP, the power lines. We are all consistent with our messaging, and Commissioner Vigliotti was as well the other morning, that we are all consistent. We're standing together with our community, and I look forward to being there this evening to again listen and learn from all those in attendance. It will not be televised, but it will be taped. I think one of us mentioned it already, and then available afterwards. Another way of listening and learning is actually getting, boots on the ground, as we would say. And I had the opportunity to go over to Nels Acre by invitation. They are a over 55 community on Highway 26 or Liberty Road, just prior to the bridge, just west of the bridge. Visiting Angels is also over there. Their concern is the traffic continuing to growth of traffic with more buildings going on, more development. And I had State Highway, because they run Highway 26 or Liberty Road, whether there's going to be a traffic light or not being placed there. I believe there should be. I believe there should be something there for the last 6 years. And I've been working on convincing State Highway and MDOT to do something on Liberty Road. But the one thing I didn't have in my toolbox until the other day, there was probably 70 people in the room, over 55 community. And I said, I had that aha moment, and I said, raise your hand if you are an active driver, in this community. I couldn't believe it. It was probably 9/10 of the room was raising their hands that they are active drivers in the community. Took a picture of that. I'm sending that to SHA and MDOT because they use federal data on whether lights should or should not be put in place. So over 55 communities down in Florida may look very different than over 55 communities here in Carroll County. These are very active, and it really was that, wow, I just built another way of showing the importance of doing something for our community by reaching out to the community and say, give me a solution. And so I really was impressed by being over at Nels Acres, and we're going to do something about it. The last thing, and just very briefly, I'll have more on it during my podcast and also next week with more details. We attended, a handful of us, the Maryland Association of Counties summer conference last week in Ocean City. I would think that Ocean City would be a great place to be, especially with the weather that it was. I can honestly say that I got to the beach between 7 and 7:30 in the morning one day. I was like, I really wanted to get there a whole lot more, but it wasn't so much a sacrifice of not being on the beach because of the value that Mako really brought to Carroll County. We had meetings with just a whole bunch of different secretaries from DGS and VA and housing and commerce, labor. It was going on, and we were coming up with what are the problems that we see in our community and what are the solutions that we can work on together with them. The last meeting we did have, not the last, but a meeting we did have was also with our governor on the topic du jour, which is these power lines. And, we sent him a thank you letter. the other day, and that'll be also part of this evening's collective materials, because we've got to come up with a solution to what's going on. And MACO, it's intergovernmental, it's nonpartisan, it's opportunity to come up with best ideas. So I had on one side County Executive Olszewski, on the other County Executive Fitzwater, and Baltimore County, Carroll County, Frederick County are all seeing the same problem, and we got to come up with a better solution. So that is all I have for now for Priority Carroll. Thanks.
Well, thank you, Commissioner Rothstein, and I'll be brief myself as well this morning. As Commissioner Rothstein had mentioned, I was the featured speaker at the Carroll County Chamber of Commerce's breakfast this week, hosted by the Public Library in Tawnytown. And I'm always humbled and grateful for the turnout that all of these commissioner breakfasts receive. And obviously, a lot of the questions that were asked and a lot of the conversation that occurred revolved around the power line project, as all my friends up here have previously noted. I'm also grateful that Commissioner Kyler and Commissioner Rothstein were in attendance, as well as our County Administrator, Roberta Wyndham. And the only other thing I'll mention this morning is I know we certainly have a lot ahead of us. Last week, I had the opportunity to be a part of the committee that's being formed for the Vietnam Traveling Memorial Wall, which is coming to Carroll County in October 2025. It was a phenomenal turnout. You have a cross-section of veterans and citizens who have a passion for patriotism, our country, and for honoring the sacrifices and the service of the men and women who have served in uniform for our country. The next meeting for the Committee for the Traveling Wall is going to be in October. And as we get closer to that, I'll share details, but they certainly need volunteers. The wall is going to come to the county, again, as I said, in October 2025, but it's not, no one's being paid to put the wall up. It really is a wholehearted volunteer effort. And so if anybody is interested or willing to participate and to help out, this could certainly use the help in doing so. And as all of my friends up here have already mentioned, tonight again is the listening session that we and the delegation are hosting at the Ag Center, running from 6 to 9 p.m. We, again, as Commissioner Rothstein had mentioned, we are united in our opposition to this project. And we certainly want to hear what you have to say about it and giving you the respect and the public forum to be able to voice your concerns with us. So that's it for me this morning for Priority Carroll. And now we will move into the rest of our Priority Carroll. First, the annual Maryland Association of Community Services Achievement Award and the launch of the Hometown Meal Program. So would you like to come up, Celine, and bring anybody up you want with you?
Thank you for having us for Priority Carroll. We have some exciting news to share. We have a guest with us today, and we'll get to Miss Pat in a minute. This is Pat Cosentino. We have Tiffany Warner with us, who is our manager of our senior inclusion program over at the Westminster Senior Center and beyond, and Rich Otone, who's our community services supervisor. And I'm Celine Steckel, the Director of Citizen Services. So we are launching a new hometown meal program, and we wanted to start by acknowledging that because we also have Miss Pat here, who received an award related to a meal program as well. So we want to kind of combine this presentation and talk about the great things that are happening in our Bureau of Aging and Disabilities and beyond. So Rich, if you want to share a little bit about the hometown meal program. And I think we have a flyer regarding that program that we could share on screen as well, as Rich is speaking to that. And then we'll move in to celebrate Pat.
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners, and thank you for allowing us to come here and talk about two very exciting things that have recently happened at the Bureau of Aging and Disabilities. First, I guess we'll start with our Hometown Takeout Meal Program. We began that on August 1st. And it's a community-based initiative. Basically, it's designed to support senior center members by partnering each center with a local restaurant. Each of the 5 participating restaurants are providing free meals to senior center members on a weekly basis. So senior center members just receive a coupon, and they're able to redeem that at the local restaurant for a meal of their choice. It's meals that are coming off of the menu, where the menus are not being altered, but it's a limited amount of meals that they can choose from. So far, the program has served over 1,100 meals and over 400 users so far. It's been well received. And the program, it just aims to enhance the quality of life for the county's older residents by offering them a chance to experience high-quality meals from local restaurants. It also helps build community ties, and we're also supporting local businesses. All the restaurants that we contacted and are working with us, we're very happy to do so. We haven't received any pushback on any of it so far. We're very, very pleased. The restaurants we're working with are Bellisimo's of Tawnytown, the Twin Arch Tavern of Mount Airy, Greenmount Station in Hampstead, Oscars in Eldersburg, and Bullock's right here in Westminster. And as you all know, as part of our food program for Carroll County, we do provide home-delivered meals through Meals on Wheels. Meals on Wheels is our vendor. Meals on Wheels utilizes volunteers to deliver the meals to people directly. These are homebound seniors who cannot leave their homes. And one of those volunteers is sitting here today with me. This is Pat Constantino. And Pat was recently recognized by the Maryland Association of Community Service Providers at their annual Achievement Awards dinner and recognized for her work with Meals on Wheels. She is, and Pat gave me permission to talk about her here. She is a steadfast, independent spirit who at age 84, she resolutely maintains an active retirement lifestyle that I think many of us, including myself, hope to live when we reach that age. Whether she's participating in an activity taking place at one of the county's 5 senior centers, and she will go to all 5 senior centers, or is volunteering with Meals on Wheels, she's healthy, vibrant, and tells anyone who asks, right, that she has no plans to slow down. We would like to congratulate Pat on being recognized for her dedication to the support of others and also continuing to be a light in our community because she's living the life that she wants to live. And I think that's an example for everybody. So that's it. Thank
Cool.
you, Pat.
You're welcome.
Thank you for letting me talk about you today.
So can we actually say that you are retired with all the work that you do? Can we actually say you're retired?
Yeah.
Well, congratulations on the award, and God bless you for everything that you do for this county. That is a beautiful award.
Thanks.
Gentlemen, any thoughts?
Thank you, Pat. I just want to say I think this is fantastic that we've got local restaurants supporting this. And I mean, it's Carroll County, so I'd be shocked you run into anybody that doesn't want to be involved. I mean, we are that kind of a community, but besides the opportunity of that, I just want to say, Pat, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I'm absolutely impressed. And as you said, I think we'd all be fortunate to have such health and exuberant life
Yeah.
as we get to an older part of our lives. But thank you so much, Pat. I appreciate you coming in.
Yeah, congratulations, Pat. And that's a beautiful plaque and painting you've got there
Yes.
Yeah.
as well. So, thank you.
Yep, and same as the others, Pat, congratulations, and really
welcome.
thank you for what you're doing. And Rich, one question for the takeout meal program. Do you have to be a participant in the senior center to receive the coupon for the takeout meal program?
You do not. The only thing that we're asking is that you'd be 60 years or older. So if you're not an active participant or you have not yet signed up to be a part of the senior center, We certainly are taking the opportunity to encourage people to do so, but it's not in and of itself a requirement to
So
participate.
Roberta, you and I, we can go take, take out meal program, and
Oscars has quite a large selection.
Oscars is pretty good, so. Is the hometown takeout meal program designed for those that are less fortunate to go out and take the opportunity to having this, or is the hometown takeout meal program part that, but also part expanding their, outreach into the community?
A little bit of both. So we know that there will be people who will participate who are very active. You mentioned before the difference between the 55-plus community in Eldersburg and the ones that you see in Florida, and there is a significant difference. And I've been down to Florida, and I know what you're talking about. However, there are also a number of people who are utilizing our senior centers who ordinarily would not have the opportunity to have a meal from Bullock's or
Right.
Oscars, or because they live on a fixed income.
Right.
And so this gives them the opportunity to get out and have a meal like that. And ultimately, what we're hoping to do, and it's just, we wanted to see if the program worked, and it is. I think it's working in terms of sheer numbers. Is to see if this can serve as an example of ways to expand our outreach and figure out ways to work with restaurants to reach people that we're serving right now just through our Meals on Wheels program. And we're very pleased with Meals on Wheels, but we also know that sometimes variety can be a spice of life and help people kind of enjoy their lives a little bit more. So that is something we're going to try to implement over the course of time.
No, I think it's great, and we talk a lot about veterans and where veterans consolidate, where we can find our veterans. It's the same with communities that can take advantage of these type of programs. One are in our veterans, organizations like the American Legions across the county. The churches across the county have seniors, that could take advantage of, that are not taking advantage of the senior center. How we can couple that, I don't know. For every person that's taking advantage of this, there's 5 that
Could use
you
it.
wish you could give those coupons to, and I know that. And I think we all feel that way. So anything I can do or we can do to come up with brainstorming ideas, let us know. I am active in the Legion. I try to be. And I'm also one of the youngest that's in the Legion, and I'm still qualified for something like this. So that tells us that there's a lot of folks that could take advantage of it.
Thank
So,
you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
You want to do a picture?
It's up to you. Pat, you want to get a picture?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
You get the middle.
And I was remiss in recognizing Gina Valentine, our Bureau
Yeah.
Chief of
Oh, yeah.
Aging and Disabilities, who was sitting behind me, also essential in this program development and obviously with the senior inclusion program oversight.
It's Gina's idea.
Yeah.
Don't you love when that happens?
Thank you. Congratulations.
Careful, sorry, there's some wires.
On the back there.
So next up, we have the Boys and Girls Clubs of Carroll County Youth of the Year with Janice Hood and Commissioner Gordon. I believe you have something for this. Why don't you
Yes, I
both
do.
come
Why
up?
don't you and Aaron and Sean come on up? And I've got to say, before they leave, I think we all have something to inspire to with Pat's longevity. I'm impressed. So, good morning.
Good morning. My name is Candace Hood, and I'm the Maryland State Youth of the Year for Carroll County and Maryland.
It's good having you all in here this morning. I know you're a little unsure of why you're here because we didn't tell you. So we have a proclamation for you here today, Candace. So the proclamation reads, Candace Hood, Boys and Girls Club of Carroll County 2024 Youth of the Year. Whereas the Boys and Girls Club of Carroll County names Candace Hood as its 2024 Youth of the Year, with Youth of the Year being the Boys and Girls Club of America's premier recognition program celebrating the achievement of club members, and Boys and Girls Clubs are located throughout Carroll County, providing youth development programs to more than 725 youths who aim to be tomorrow's leaders. And Boys and Girls Clubs are the settings where great futures start, and they are at the forefront of efforts to support academic success, healthy lifestyles, and character and leadership development. And the Youth of the Year title is a prestigious honor bestowed upon an exemplary youth person in recognition of their leadership, service, academic excellence, and dedication to live a healthy lifestyle, and is the highest honor a teen member can receive. And Candace Hood is a member of the Boys and Girls Club of Carroll County, who serves as a leader and mentor, embodying the club's mission, engaging in activities promoting leadership and empowerment. As an advocate for the importance of mentorship and community engagement, Candace is a role model or exemplary example, shining example, to youth throughout Carroll County, and Candace is also named the 2024 Maryland State Youth of the Year, serves as a role model, leader, and advocate for many youth serving the Boys and Girls Club locally and nationally. Now, therefore, we, the Board of Carroll County Commissioners, do wish to honor Candace Hood as the outstanding citizen and champion for Carroll County's youth and congratulate her on this recognition, and do hereby proclaim Thursday, August 22nd, 2024 as Candace Hood Day, adopted this 22nd day of August, 2024, signed the Board of Carroll County Commissioners.
Cool.
Thank you guys so much.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit. I mean, I know a little bit, and I think some of my colleagues do, but for everybody here and anybody watching, tell us some of what you've been up to as Youth of the Year and Maryland State Youth of the Year.
So as Youth of the Year recently, after my trip to New York where I competed for Northeast Regional Youth of the Year, the journey began from there. So far, I have met with Governor Wes Moore to kind of talk about some of the things that I'm passionate about and why Boys and Girls Clubs are so important, not only in Carroll County, but across Maryland. And then we're just going on from there. Next week, I am attending the area council meeting in Williamsburg, Virginia, where I will again get to share my story and just tell a little bit about why I believe that the Boys and Girls Clubs are so important.
And I know we all do. We appreciate all the hard work. And I mean, I don't know how this club has pulled it off. What is it now, Sean? How many years?
4 out of 5 years.
Yeah, from Maryland
Youth of the Year.
State.
We certainly do it different here. So can I ask, what got you involved in Boys and Girls Club to begin with? What made you say, I want to be a part of this?
So growing up, my dad is in the military, still active duty. I kind of lacked stability in a lot of areas. And so I went to a back to school night coming to my 10th new school and was able to connect with one of the mentors that was there at my back to school night. And that's kind of what drove me to run for Youth of the Year, because growing up, I didn't have stable parent relationships and adult relationships. And so I grew to believe that every kid, no matter like their background or their situation, deserves to have some sort of stable adult in their life, no matter if it's a parent or guardian or just somebody from their community.
And what would you say to anyone who may be listening who's thinking about joining but isn't quite convinced or quite sure about it yet?
I would say just jump in and do it. You kind of at first may think that it's not for you, but the second that you're in it, you're in it. It becomes a second home, but I think you just have to go for it, and you'll never know what you'll find from it.
Awesome. Gentlemen, any other thoughts?
Candace, that is really well said. I mean, from start to finish, it's one of those, you had me at hello, but it was really, really well said, and very well packaged. As me having a couple kids now grown, but have gone through, the military, and I got to raise my right hand. They didn't raise any hand. They were put into it, just like you were. But you really captured that very well, and this is great. I mean, what a great start to the morning, going from Pat earlier to this. I mean, we just seem to do it right, and So congratulations, and all the honors belong to you, and continue in your great success. So thank you.
We have to give her a little extra nod because she has been working for 10 weeks all summer long with a group of kids, 6 to 13 years old. So she has really been like living her story, and she really has been mentoring those kids every single day. And she was on vacation last week, and I think I had probably 10 or 15 kids say, "Where's Chandis? Where's Chandis?" So she is really making an impact. And
So what's the hardest, the 6 or the 13?
I tend to not have an issue with any of them. Usually,
Come on.
a lot of my coworkers would say that the 6 are the hardest, but they are actually the ones that I bond the most with. So,
Because you can see them eye to eye.
I would say the 6 are.
Let's grab a picture if we could get Matt to come out.
This is not the official picture. This is the official Boys and Girls Club Facebook post picture, right? That's right. All right, here you go. All right, now the official picture.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you guys for having us.
Thank you.
All right, so item 1, public hearing for community development block grants.
Good morning, Commissioners. This is a public hearing to solicit public comment to close out a grant. The county was originally awarded a community development block grant in 2020. At the beginning of the process, they were required to hold a public hearing. Commissioner Rothstein remembers it very well. It was September 24th, 2020. He can answer any questions you may have. And the grant also requires a public hearing to close out the grant, and you have to close it out before September of 2024. So the purpose of today is to receive some information from Celine Steckel, our Director of the Department of Citizen Services, and Deb Standiford, our Grants Manager. They want to report to the public and to you how the grant was dispersed and what was accomplished with it.
Right. So, good morning, Commissioners. So we, as you recall, back in 2020, that was during the COVID era. So this funding was related to funding that was provided to us through CDBG that wouldn't have typically been a funding source through CDBG at that time. But we were able to utilize that money, get it into the community to make an impact with some of the services we were providing to expand the impact that we could have during that time and still support the services that these 3 agencies provided. We provided funding to the Westminster Rescue Mission to expand their outreach and to enhance their ability to provide food supports, including a trailer and some other infrastructure with staffing supports as well. We also provided funding to the Bureau of Aging and Disabilities to hire an integral case management position to support our at-risk individuals of the aging population. And then also the ARC was awarded funding as well for training related to COVID, and then expanded that to other opportunities as well. So we have in the audience with us as part of the public hearing 3 individuals that have that are representing each of those agencies. Gina Valentine is our Bureau Chief of Aging and Disabilities. We have Stephanie Haley, the Executive Director of the Westminster Rescue Mission, and then Don Rao, the Executive Director of the ARC of Carroll County. And they will all be coming to the mic to provide public comment.
Any questions of staff?
Nope.
At this point, we should turn the floor over to any members of the public that wish to make a comment, and we ask that you limit your comments to 3 minutes.
If you'd like to.
Good morning.
Good morning. Sorry, I'm a little challenged here with the height of this. So I was just going to talk about the services provided by this grant that enabled us to hire a coordinator of case management services within MAP Information and Assistance. And prior to that, we just did not have the staffing capacity to provide case management services for older adults or younger disabled adults seeking long-term services and supports. So this was a new service that we were able to offer. During the grant, while we had the grants, our coordinator provided case management services to 119 unduplicated individuals. She would help people access medical appointments to obtain their medications, connecting them with other programs and services as well. She helped them with housing applications and also the mainstream housing voucher applications. So it was of great benefit to our agency since the funding went away. Unfortunately, the position went away. And so we, still have a need for the case management services, which we will continue to search for funding to support that. But this really was an invaluable resource to the Bureau of Aging and Disabilities and to individuals seeking long-term services and support. So thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you for allowing me to speak today. I'm Stephanie Halley. I'm with the Westminster Rescue Mission. It's good to see you. I just want to take an opportunity to say thank you. Thank you to Celine, thank you to Debbie, and thank you to you all for your support. What this grant allowed us to do really is to work for and on behalf of over 15,000 individuals in Carroll County who the United Way has found are basically food insecure. That's a lot of people in our county. And so in order to help meet that need, what we have been able to do with this funding, it's been transformative for us as an organization. We have been able to transform from being one of the pantries in the county to becoming a hub of food assistance in Carroll County. We've been able to do that with also the support of the Maryland Food Bank. We are one of 6 organizations statewide that serve as hubs throughout the state of Maryland, and so we are the hub in Carroll County. What that means is that we collect food from our local grocery stores and restaurants and farms to be able to not only provide food directly to individuals, but to support 26 other organizations here in Carroll County who are food pantries. So churches and smaller organizations, we're basically stocking their shelves so that we can spread that food out. We also provide direct mobile distributions. We just started one this summer in Union Bridge because there hasn't been the support there and the food access there, and so we've been able to launch that. All of this has been made possible by this funding, which allowed us to support 2 of our staff and to support those positions, but also to purchase a refrigerated trailer where we can store food. That is going to serve us well for a long time, and a forklift, which helps us move that food. Because it's a lot of food. So we are serving about, so last year we served over 1 million pounds of food. We moved about 1 million pounds of food. That's a lot of food. And we served just recently in our last quarter, we served over 8,000 individuals in our county. So while that's a lot of food and a lot of people, as I mentioned in the beginning, there are 15,000 in our county. So we still have our work cut out for us. But this, as I mentioned, this funding has been transformative for us and for what we can do for the county. So I thank you for that support.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Good morning, Commissioners. It's always a pleasure. I'm Don Rao from the ARC Carroll County. And, as I think back to those days when COVID began, there was a lot going on, and the folks that we support, we couldn't close down services for people that lived in their residential homes or some of the folks that worked in some of those essential services. So it was critical that we provide them some training and support in just some of the simple things like learning how to wear a mask and washing hands and things like that. So this funding allowed us the opportunity to hire a trainer to really focus on that and work with our individuals. Then as things began to subside, we were able to pivot. Thankfully, Celine and Debbie, who were wonderful to work with, saw the need along with me around employment. Pre-COVID, we had 46 people employed at community businesses. During COVID, that dipped down to 36 people. So we wanted to get folks back to work. And we were able to then deploy a coordinator around employment to help folks stabilize in their jobs. And during that time, too, there were a lot of employers that were hiring. So we were able to capitalize on that as well. So we touched in the employment program about 46 folks through the life of it. And we stabilized at 36 people that retain their employment in the community. As the funding shut down, we really thought about, how valuable that position was. And so September 1, we're launching an employment initiative. So we're actually going to keep this project going and find some ways to enhance and strengthen employment for our individuals. We've got a number of folks that want to work out in the community, and we think this is a great time for them to be able to look for jobs and us support that effort. So this was valuable during a very critical point for us, and I'm happy to say that we'll be able to continue our efforts and actually enhance our employment services. So thank you again for your support and working with community agencies.
Well, thank you very much. Roberta, do we have anybody else for public comment? Any cards?
No, thank you for asking.
Matt, do we have anybody on the line for public comment?
No, sir.
Well, gentlemen, I guess we need a motion to close the public hearing, unless there's anything else that either of you want to say first, or?
I just want to say thank you to the agencies that received the funding and being able to really put that to good use in the community. It was very impactful and definitely made a difference.
And I'll just add, the state was here yesterday to monitor, and they very pleased when we went and visited each of the subrecipients, and we had a very positive monitoring visit with the state.
The limitations on the use of money was both capital and operational use, correct?
Yes, and typically I will say CDBG does not fund services. This was an unusual round.
Yeah.
It was a COVID response. Usually they fund capital.
So with the operational, the ongoing needs, as they're going to get embedded into these services, are something that is expected that we are going to then have to take on, or are we going to go back to CDBG for follow-on funding, or what's the strategy of the continuing services fund?
Well, I think you heard from the ARC and the Rescue Mission that this did make a difference in their services, and they will be able to continue them in some way. I mean, this is the danger of grant funding. It does end, and sometimes we can sustain those efforts in creative ways, or you need to find other funding. CDBG will not be a source of funding for this.
Right. So which is great. I mean, the use of CDBG, I mean, I'm all for and this grant and the services that it provided and the capital that it provided. Got it. It's just to ensure that there is a strategy that's in place for those that have received these dollars for services, that there's a strategy of a sunset, or how they're going to maneuver their dollars. Now, it's not our responsibility to do that for the two nonprofits that got supported through this, but there's definitely a comfort level. It's a responsibility that we should have. So, your thoughts?
And as far as the services go with aging, with the position we had there, the case management position, there was another opportunity that came available. So that particular staff member that we had brought on board and did a lot of work and did excellent work, we were able to move her into a full-time county position, which was awesome to not lose that skill and that knowledge. As far as the additional resources and community support, we're still talking about how we can have a position like that, and where we can find funding through other grants with MDOA and the Older Americans Act funding to be able to support something like that. But we've also worked, so there is, we're working with HSP and other nonprofit providers to make sure that we're not missing some of these individuals with services and supports, but and other agencies like the Health Department as well as DSS. So, but yes, there's still a need there for people that need long-term services and supports, but may not be in one of our formal programs, right? There's no funding to support that case management side.
Right.
And this was tied to COVID. So the needs of the organizations because COVID was happening. I mean, that was also part of this. So COVID's gone. So, while the need isn't necessarily gone,
Right.
That is another, that was another caveat around the funding. And everyone knew that it would.
I mean, COVID as we know it is not there, but it still continues to be a distraction in so many ways. And I'm not as concerned with our own budget and how we're, moving the appropriate dollars appropriately to support our needs. It's those that are receiving dollars from the nonprofits that we don't control their budgets, and they're using the dollars for services with, if there's a strategy in place, got it, I'm good. But if, it's difficult if they're going to come back to us and say, oh, we ran out of dollars for these services. Can you give us another $64,000, type of thing. There's got to be a real concern about that. You want to come up? You understand where I'm coming from.
I absolutely do, and I just want to share that for us, a portion was capital, and so we have things that can keep us. But even for the positions that we were supporting, one of the things that this allowed us to do, we were able to leverage this funding to be able to access other funding that is more sustainable. So when you get grants, it's more likely that you're going to get a grant if you say, "Hey, we have this to start it," and then you can take this piece. And so for us, anytime we get a grant, we have to look at the sustainability. So it's dangerous for community to stop and start services a whole lot. And so when we're getting support, we are absolutely leveraging that for other grant funders or other individual donors or other sources. So absolutely a part of the strategy.
Yeah, and I just kind of want to hear it from you, and Don, I would expect the same, right? Is that?
Yeah, what Stephanie said was our experience too. We were able to use that funding to leverage and just kind of give us some seed money to get going and saying, is this a good idea? It was a good idea. Now we can tap some funding elsewhere to make this a sustainable project. So that's how we used it. We had no intent to come back and say, okay, we're out. It's a good idea. We want more. That was not where we were going with this, and we understood that, from the beginning.
No, I appreciate the discussion. Back to you, Mr. President.
Well, thank you, Commissioner Rothstein. Any further discussion, any motions?
Not discussion, but I did want to mention one thing. I know Ms. Halley had mentioned the 8,000 individuals. If you look at, and that's a huge number as we know, but if you look at that based on the population, that's almost 5% of Carroll County residents. So just kind of wanted to point that out as well. So that's incredibly significant, and thank all of you for everything you've been doing. I mean, that's a huge lift, to say the least. And with that, I'll make the motion. I move the Board of County Commissioners close the public hearing.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? So carried. Thank you both very much.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you.
Next up, operating budget transfer for Carroll County Public Schools. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Thank you for having us. Just go ahead and proceed.
Yes, sir, please.
Okay. We're here this morning on behalf of the Board of Ed requesting approval of a budget transfer that occurred at the last Board of Education meeting, which was about a week ago. And This is a little bit interesting in that there's no net change to our budget here. This is more of an accounting exercise and an audit exercise as we're closing out fiscal '24 and looking to our year-end audit. So as we close out our budget and look to category 6 of our budget, we always carry an in-kind expenditure from the commissioners for funding or virtual funding for the SRO program. You actually fund those folks through the sheriff's office. But we carry it as an in-kind expenditure, and so we do need actual revenue to offset the in-kind expenditure. And as we closed out the budget and looked at category 6, we realized we hadn't reflected that yet. And so this transfer was to move segments of money from 3 other categories of our budget into category 6 to balance or offset the in-kind expenditure for the SRO program. So not a net adjustment to the budget, just an exercise in accounting.
So I'll move the Board of Commissioners approve operational budget adjustment 24 tax 02 for the Board of Education FY24 operating fund budget.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? So carried. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Now we got to spend the money, right?
Up next, item 3, approval of the FY25 town-county agreements for Tawnytown and Union Bridge. Good morning, Mr. Zaleski.
Morning. So we've been a couple times already, back with 2 more towns. The distribution of town-county, or to approve the town-county agreements and distribute the shared revenue. Today we have Tawnytown and Union Bridge. Tawnytown net funding, and again, the net is we determine an amount that goes to each town, but the towns are also paying for certain services. This is netting out those things. A little over $517,000 to Tawnytown and a little over $70,000 to Union Bridge.
Any discussion or motions?
Move that the Board of Commissioners approve the FY25 town-county agreements with the towns of Tawnytown and Union Bridge.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? So carried.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Zaleski. Up next, we have briefing and discussion on development rights and responsibilities agreements, otherwise known as DARAs. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
Morning.
So tell us about DARAs.
Would love to. So, as you mentioned, we're here to discuss development rights and responsibility agreements. We are here today providing a briefing on the discussions and draft proposal that we have worked with the Planning and Zoning Commission over the past month or so. This is a briefing. There's no action required. However, if you would like to move forward with an action, that process is entirely up to the board. So if you had questions that you needed us to come back, provide more information, we can do that. If you'd like us to arrange a work session where we could spend a couple hours and do a deep dive into this, certainly can do that. The only requirement that we do have is that at some point we need to have a public hearing. So if, as we go through this, you don't have any questions, you'd like to move forward with the public hearing, we can certainly do that. But the process is entirely up to the board as how we move forward. So with that, I will turn it over to Mary to run through what we have developed.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm going to be a little repetitive to what I presented to you in April. We were before you at the end of April. Since then, we have had 5 Planning Commission work sessions on this, so I just want to remind you of, other than Commissioner Gordon, who sat through all those, what a DRRA actually is. So just essentially, the state of Maryland adopted legislation in 1995 authorizing local governing bodies to pass an ordinance creating DRRAs. And a DRRA is a negotiated agreement between a local government and a developer for the purpose of establishing conditions under which the development may proceed, and it's valid for a specified period of time. So a key element of the DRRA is that the laws and regulations concerning the use of the property, including density and intensity of development in effect at the time of execution of the agreement, remain in effect throughout the development of the property. The property is then not subject to subsequent changes in planning and zoning. So why have a DRRA? First, it provides the developer with stability in land use regulations for the duration of the project. This lower risk could incentivize large-scale, multi-year development projects. The community may get additional benefit based on the negotiated agreement. The local government can still change regulations if they are essential to public health, safety, and welfare. And an example of that would probably be stormwater management. So, does it apply to all development? No. A petition shall be entirely voluntary on the part of both the petitioner and the jurisdiction. The state statute contemplates that the developer initiates the process leading to a DRRA. The local government may execute it, and it only exists when the government and the developer have come to terms. So the state law requires some things, and then some things are left to the local ordinance. The land use article requires that the DRRA includes the duration of the agreement, permissible uses on the property, the density of the property, maximum height and size of structures, description of permits required, and a description of the conditions, terms, restrictions, and other requirements determined necessary for health, safety, and welfare. So that's what's required by state law. What else does it require? To the extent applicable, it will also include provisions for dedication of property for public use, protection of sensitive areas, preservation of historic structures, and construction of public facilities. It requires that a public hearing be held, allowing interested citizens to weigh in on the agreement, and it can be amended or terminated only by mutual consent. So this question came up at Planning Commission a few times, so I thought I would provide it here for you. Since 1995, 11 counties have enacted DRRA enabling legislation. 2 of them, Howard and Queen Anne's, have since repealed their ordinances. 2, Frederick and Charles, they amended theirs pretty substantially a few years ago, and it doesn't appear that they have had any executed since. 4 counties, Anne Arundel, St. Mary's, Calvert, and Talbot, it's been used once or twice. And in 3 of the other counties that have the enabling legislation, they have never used it. So in Carroll County, there are 3 municipalities that have the enabling legislation. It's been used several times in Tawnytown for large residential developments. It's been used once in Hampstead, and Mount Airy adopted this legislation about 2 years ago, but it has not been used yet. So the way our process is working, in April, you directed us to work with the Planning Commission for a recommendation. We worked on over 5 meetings, May through August, coming up with an ordinance, which you do have in front of you. And then today, you'll review the proposal and decide your next steps, either to hold a work session or possibly proceed to public hearing. So there's 5 issues that the Planning Commission was focused on over those meetings that I'm going to go through. The page number on the side refers to the draft legislation that you have. So the first thing was the threshold for applicability. The state law does not include requirements for this. The Planning Commission talked about this at length and decided that if it's a residential development, it should contain at least 125 dwelling units to be eligible for this. And the thought there is this really is only necessary and useful for large, long-term developments, and 125 is what they came up with. If it's mixed use or non-residential, it should be at least 25 acres in size. And again, this ensures that petitions will only be used for large multi-year projects. Term of the agreement. The state law says that it shall be void after 5 years unless otherwise agreed to. The Planning Commission is recommending that the agreement be at least 5 years in duration with one possible extension, and that must be agreed to by mutual consent. So the role of the Planning Commission, the state law requires that consistency be found, but the Planning Commission is recommending that their role be a little broader, that they also can make recommendations to the Board of County Commissioners regarding the actual terms of the agreement. So that's beyond just finding consistency with the adopted plans. Public notification, under state law, there's a requirement for a public hearing. The Planning Commission felt strongly that this needed to be enhanced. And so it must be advertised in the newspaper, which is your normal practice. The property must be posted and notice must be sent to neighbors. That's on pages 2 and 4 of the legislation, the details of that. Also, and this came from at least one of the other enabling legislations in Maryland, the developer must host a public meeting in the area of the property following submittal of their DRRA
Mary, on that,
petition.
you said state law does not require those three, but we are requiring it in accordance with the Planning Commission?
Well, that's what they're recommending. State law requires that public hearing be held according to whatever procedures we're using,
Right.
which is advertising. And
The state law does not require the advertising, the posting, and the notification?
I believe it would, the advertising in the paper would be part of our normal.
Yes, it would be part of the adoption, like adopting an ordinance.
Right, but that's our, is that our requirement or state requirement?
That's typically our requirement.
That's what I thought, okay.
But what's over and above is posting the property and sending notice to neighbors.
Right.
And then this informational meeting, this would be before the public hearing is held, an
Right.
informational meeting in the area. And then the last thing that they discussed, which was what they discussed most, was a requirement for what's called enhanced public benefits. So the intent of DRRAs is that in exchange for a freeze on development regulations, a public benefit be provided to the jurisdiction. The 1995 state law does not expressly require that DRAs have to have enhanced public benefits to be valid. So the definition of an enhanced public benefit is public infrastructure improvements or other public benefit features to be provided at the applicant's expense. The important thing being above and beyond those that the applicant would otherwise be required to provide under applicable law. And this was brought to them because several of the jurisdictions that have these on the books have added this requirement in recent years. So again, the topic was discussed at length by the Planning Commission, and the debate revolved around the need to include this requirement to ensure a meaningful benefit. That would be one reason to have it. A reason not to have it would be if the agreement is completely voluntary, it's not necessary. And also, it was brought up the ambiguity of the term enhanced, which could lead to litigation. So there was not consensus on the merits of this language, and it was left for continued discussion by the Board of County Commissioners. So I would say that the Planning Commission left it in so you could discuss it, but they did not take a position on this one aspect of it. So your next steps would be possibly an optional work session. You have to, if you do want to proceed, a public hearing. Following the public hearing, you would deliberate on this, and then following deliberations, you would make a decision. Once enabling legislation would be in place, an applicant would be able to propose a DRRA for a specific property. At that point, again, the county can decide whether or not they want to move forward with that particular DRRA. If agreed, the county would negotiate it. It would go to the Planning and Zoning Commission to determine consistency. The Board of County Commissioners would hold a public hearing, and the Board of County Commissioners would make the decision. Questions?
If I may, just to follow up, again, just to be perfectly clear, what comes out of the Planning Commission are strictly recommendations. There's no obligation by the board to follow through with any of the recommendations. So a great example are the thresholds. The state law does not require any thresholds. Other jurisdictions have put in thresholds. Like Frederick County, I believe the threshold is they don't entertain the idea of a DRA unless it's over 900 residential units that are being proposed. That number is entirely up to the board. The planning commission came up with 125. We feel it's a good idea to have some threshold in there. That way, we're not taking applications for DRAs for any level of development that's being proposed. But again, these are recommendations from the planning commission. The board may go any direction you wish with them.
So this has gone through 5 times?
Yes, we had 5 meetings in total discussing this.
It's one, to me, we've had enough work sessions from the experts in the planning commission. You know, for me, I believe it needs to, the next step would be to go to public hearing. I don't like the word enhance because it's too subjective. You know, I think being as objective in this as possible, but that can come out of the public hearing piece of this and that conversation. That's not necessarily the time. This is not necessarily the time to do that or not. The time to do this or not is to determine whether we want more work sessions or public hearing. And so, yeah, I'm going to be recommending for public hearing. I appreciate all the work that was done. You answered some of the questions, like what jurisdictions are, have this tool in place. You know, to me, the better the tools in the toolbox, the better we're outfitted to do things necessary. If we use this, that's one thing. If not, it's still a tool in the toolbox. There's very few areas in the county where this would be applicable. But there are multiple locations in the county where this could be applicable. Yeah, again, just because you can doesn't mean you should or will. It's just another tool that I believe is necessary. The other thing is this tool allows the progress, if used appropriately, for an appropriate development to occur. One of our most important roles as commissioners is establishing the budget. And in establishing the budget, it goes to the expenses, quality of life, fire, EMS, police, all the things that we do, the roads, but also building the revenue. And in order to build the revenue, we know how difficult that can be. You know, whether it's coming out of people's pockets via taxes, income and property, or it's coming out of commercial and development. And the economic growth, if we allow something like this, can lessen the impact on individuals' necessity for the tax burden. That's huge. And, you know, I want to stay in my lane by saying that's where predominantly our role is to establish the budget for our county. That is the Carroll County Board of County Commissioners' role. And no one should ever take that away from us or doubt that. So in doing that, this is a tool to build revenue, you know, and opportunity. So, yeah, my motion is going to be to move this to public hearing at this time.
That is a motion?
That's a motion.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that, but I have one quick question for staff. So obviously, we were all there together, Mr. Hines, so we were there for 5 meetings, and I know there was a lot of discussion on a number of questions. If we go to public meeting with this, that would then allow us to come back and have a little bit additional conversation and modify as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, you can have as many work sessions
That's
after
what,
that as
that was,
you
that was my belief. I just wanted to confirm that, so.
No,
Okay.
no,
well-
no
well,
pressure.
Okay.
And you can have the public hearing and you can adopt it that day, or you can.
Or not, yes.
or
Yep.
Not that day, but with an
Yes.
ordinance, but you can adopt it shortly
Yep.
thereafter. Or you can never adopt it if you choose not
Yeah.
to.
and I know I mentioned it previously, but for me, having experience using DARs at the municipal level in Tawnytown, they are another way to safeguard the interests of citizens by making sure that a developer, when they sign on to one of these agreements, they fulfill what they're required to fulfill through the DAR. So, well, we have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion?
So I think this was before us, maybe in the spring,
April.
early spring, in April? Okay.
April 25th.
And I think I might have voted against it at the time because I'm concerned about it tying our hands as a board when it comes to making some decisions. And it looks like 11 counties have enacted it, and it looks like every single one of them has either repealed it or not used it. And so that leaves me with questions as to why it didn't work for any of them. So I'm still very suspect. I'm still very concerned about this and what this effect it could have on our ability as a board to make decisions if we have to, and does it tie our hands? So I guess that maybe that'll come out in the public hearing process, but still not convinced we need it.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? So carried.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Up next, item 5, discussion of Carroll Transit System services. Good morning to both of you.
Hey, before we start, Mr. Bilkey, thank you for you and your team being at Nels Acres. I thought that went really well, and Andrew got back with us relatively quickly, so continue to follow up.
Yes.
Because if not, I'll probably get hung by a handful of them, and they have a lot of energy.
And I made sure Andrew had your picture that you sent over, so that is on file already. And even though he responded to us, I told him
Yes.
I'm out next week on vacation, but we're going to get together the following week just to touch base on that.
I really appreciate it, and I think those in the room really appreciate it. I mean, I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting 3 or 4 or 5, whatever, and there was 75 or whatever it was, and
It was a great conversation. I think it went the way it should have. We listened, and I think the state heard our message and
Good.
heard the community.
Absolutely. So thank you, and thank your team.
Great. All right, we're here today to talk about an overview of Carroll Transit System, CTS. So this is going to be the first of a 3-part series on the Carroll Transit services. Today, we are strictly focusing on what services Carroll County offers to the residents. So think of it as a 101 on the services. So we're going to hit on what we provide, where we provide, kind of how we provide. What we are not talking about today, so I apologize. Please hold questions for later presentations. We're not talking about budgets or grants or funding or changes or financing or any of those things. So, and before I hand it over to Stacy, I do want to just another plug for MACO. We met with the Secretary of Transportation last week. They had all great things to say about our transit system. I think there was a time in history where it wasn't as ran as smoothly as it does today. So kudos to the team that run the transit system. Kudos to Stacy and Debbie, who's sitting behind us. MTA always has great things to say, and hopes we're the example that other counties lead by. So,
Well, that's
with
good to
that,
hear. So,
yeah,
is it 101 today, so I got to call both of you professor?
I would love that.
You're not going to get it.
With that, I'll hand it over to Stacy.
All right, good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
I handed you all a rider's guide. You don't need to study it or anything like that, just kind of informational. That's what we provide to our riders. It's available on our website, so you have some reading material if you would like it for later. I'm going to start with a little bit of history. 2024 is the 50th anniversary of transit in Carroll County. This service used to be Senior Overland Service, started in 1974, provided by the Bureau of Aging just for seniors. The service was eventually contracted out to Carroll Area Transit System, or CATS. CATS held a contract for many years and introduced our first fixed route system. In 2015, the contract was then awarded to Butler Medical. They contracted out to Ride With Us, who still holds the contract today. Their contract is good through the end of this fiscal year, so June 30th, 26, 25, right? 25. And it will go out to bid sometime this winter for the following fiscal year for the new contract to get started. CTS provides 3 services. CTS, Carroll Transit System, it is no longer CATS. CTS is what it is called now. We provide the Trailblazers, which are the fixed routes, and we have 6 fixed routes throughout the county. They all meet in workforce development where you can transfer between the routes. But, all 3 services are provided Monday through Friday, 7 to 5. Both Trailblazer and door-to-door, anyone can ride. Our door-to-door system is a shared ride, scheduled, what am I trying to say here? Reservations are required. For that, we also provide a veteran shuttle available to all Carroll County veterans. We go to Martinsburg VA, Baltimore VA, and Fort Detrick. We have branched out a little. If you call the Bureau of Aging and get an approved other location, we will take the veteran there. I'm not focusing on veterans today, as this is more of a community transportation information session. But a little bit of veteran shuttle. We average 24 veterans a month with an average of 37 trips. And in FY24, we transported 72 individual veterans to different locations. The Transportation Advisory Council put out a survey in September of 23 for both riders and community members. We received 60 rider responses. 60% of the riders that took the survey do not have a driver's license, and 49% of them have a household income of less than $15,000. 62% of the riders use CTS at least 3 times a week, and the split between Trailblazer and Demand Response is about 60-40. The TAC intends to put this survey out on an annual basis to continue to collect this data.
Just real quick, what's poverty line? I don't know whether it's an Alice report or United Way. Is it 30,000 below for a household, or
That might be a
does anybody
Debbie
know?
question.
I can Google
I
it.
was looking at Celine.
I just don't know.
We will get back to you
I just
before
can't
this.
believe 50% is 15,000 below. It's horrible for a household. I won't say horrible in a.
Well, 50% of our riders, the people that took the survey, 50% of them.
Yeah, but if they're a household and they say they are living on 15,000 or less, I mean, I was just, I don't know, just stuck out. So, and then you're saying 70% are 30,000 below. Yes, Celine?
As of January 17, 2024, the federal poverty level was $15,060 per year for an individual, or $1,255 per month.
Yeah.
Or
Okay.
for a married couple, $20,440 per year, $1,700 per month.
So what we're saying is we are serving a significant community.
Yes.
If half of this is 15,000 below.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Just stuck out on me.
No problem. Okay, so for Demand Response or door-to-door, the fares are based on mileage, starting at $4 one way. The most a rider would pay would be $9 one way. There are some discounts. Seniors going to their closest senior center will pay $2 one way. Dialysis clients outside of the Westminster area will pay $5 one way. And the college student discount is 50% off whatever their fare would be. CTS requires exact fare, no changes given, but they accept cash, bus tickets, which can be purchased directly from CTS, or you can get discounted tickets from the senior center. We also have the ability for the riders to set up an account, and they can use a check or a credit card to add money to it and spend down as they ride. There is a no-show fee if the rider does not show for the scheduled ride, whatever their fare would have been. CTS requires a 1-hour notice of cancellation to avoid the fee. Demand Response, shared ride, door-to-door, so the bus will pick you up at your house and take you to your destination, but we'll make stops along the way to pick up other people based on their reservations. We do take same-day requests based on availability. The rider just calls CTS, talks to the dispatcher, gives them some pertinent information, and they will set up that ride if it's available. and give a 30-minute window of when the bus can arrive, 15 minutes before the scheduled time to 15 minutes after.
Is there an idea of how many college students use transit services? And if you don't have that information today, that's okay. I'm just kind of curious because, when we've seen presentations about it in the past, you see people who are disabled or elderly, but this is the first time I can, this is the first time that, college students using this has caught my attention.
It's not a very big number. It's only Carroll community. It's open to McDaniel. We don't have any McDaniel users. They have their own transportation on the McDaniel campus. I think that has a lot to do with it. So it's only Carroll that are using it, but the number is not very big. I can get you the exact number if you would like it.
I was just kind of curious about whether, I didn't know whether it was like an overwhelming number of students or whether it was a handful.
Handful.
So, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Overall ridership, I don't have college students on here, but you can tell that our trips are not back to what they were pre-COVID. We are about 60% of the way there, and we're doing a little bit better than the rest of the state as far as that is concerned. But we are still serving over 1,300 individuals on an annual basis, with over 65% of those trips being for seniors or persons with disabilities. We do expect rider to continue to increase. However, I don't think that it'll ever get back to that 140 that was provided in FY19, mainly due to things that COVID changed. We now have telehealth and we have grocery deliveries, and that's what most of our people are using this service for. So I don't know that we'll ever get quite back up there, but we still had a 5,000 trip increase from the previous year, so we're still on the uprise. Trailblazer fares. Trailblazers are our fixed routes. They run in North Carroll and Westminster and Tawnytown. Just be at the stop, get on the bus, pay your $2 every time you get on. Exact fare for this also, bus ticket or cash. Registered older adults, individuals with disabilities, Medicare card holders, and college students pay half fare, so $1. You can also get a deviation for $1. A deviation requires a reservation, must be within 3/4 of a mile of a posted stop. The bus will then deviate from that stop, pick up the passenger, and then before or after the stop, depending on where they're going, and then head to the next stop. The last fare increase for Trailblazer was in 2011, and before that, it had been at least 16 years. Our Trailblazer ridership is doing excellent, well above pre-COVID numbers. A big factor in that was our last major change occurred in 2021, where the routes were reorganized into 30-minute and hour loops, and we added the transfer hub over at Workforce Development. So adding those things made them easier to understand, easier to follow, and you knew exactly when the bus was going to be there. You can see the Westminster routes are the most well-used, but the North Carroll routes are getting really good usage for only being around since 2018.
So is it possible to perhaps intimate that the demand response has declined in conjunction with the fixed routes?
Yes. Yeah, I think that's fair to say. We definitely are getting more people using the Trailblazer. It's a cheaper service, so it's certainly, if it gets you where you need to go, that would be what I would take.
And if you know the times and you know for sure that a bus is going to be there at a certain, okay.
Correct.
Thank you.
And you don't need a reservation, so you don't have to worry if that time of the day is super busy and you can't get that ride. We do not keep track of who rides the Trailblazer. Since it's not reservation based, we don't know who is on and who is not. So it was hard to come up with our registered older adults and disability riders. I asked our drivers to keep a 1-week sample the beginning of June for how many full fare passengers that they had, because I knew that would be a less number to count than the half fare. So all of our routes are at least 50% registered older adults, individuals with disabilities, and Medicare card holders. All of them except Tawnytown are 80% or higher. Tawnytown is a more employment-based use than the other 4. So I think that has a lot to do with that one being closer to 50%. But our main users here are our half-fare older adults and disabilities. These are our current routes. So we have 2 buses that run the Westminster Black route. They run every 30 minutes. The Westminster Purple Route is currently running on one bus, but it is set up to run with two. So when that ridership increases and has that need for that second bus, then it'll start running on a half-an-hour loop, just like the black one. The Tawnytown Green Shuttle runs on the hour. And the North Carroll Orange is actually two buses. So we have one bus that comes back and forth to transfer at Workforce Development, and one bus that stays in Hampstead but transfers with the other bus that's going to come over to Westminster.
And I'll just follow up with Commissioner Bigliotti's comment. I think I want the public to hear, all the TENS that are watching today, that there's a really good opportunity here for students that are wanting to take classes. You know, if you're up in Manchester, you come down Workforce Development, take a stop there, look at the job postings, talk to some of the team members there, and can continue right on to the community college for half fare. You know, you can not have a car and still have access to Workforce Development and the classes at the community college. So I think it's a great benefit that people could probably take more advantage of.
Thank you.
Thank you. A little bit about our fleet. We have a total of 45 vehicles. All of them are serviced by our Bureau of Fleet Management. 31 vehicles are dedicated to our demand response service. Most of those are the bigger Ford F-450s with a seating capacity of 12 with 2 wheelchairs. But we also have a handful of smaller options, the Ford Transits, the minivans, the E-350s. They are really helpful for narrow streets and driveways. All of the 8 Trailblazer vehicles are E-450s. They're wrapped in blue. Can't miss them as they're driving around. And we also have 6 veteran vehicles, 4 minivans and 2 Dodge ProMasters. The ProMasters seat 6 with 2 wheelchairs. They're nice to have on hand when we have more people that need to go to the same location. Just some last little transit notes. The Trailblazers deviate to the local libraries. So the Tawnytown, North Carroll, and Westminster Library will deviate for free to the library. The routes do not go there, but they get close by. So if you want to go to the library, just give them a call and they will drop you off and pick you up. CTS got approval starting in January to be open on a handful of holidays that we were previously closed on. Otherwise, we do follow county holidays and all weather-related snow decisions. I know we don't want to talk about that with this beautiful weather we're having. Also rest with the county. CTS holds quarterly safety meetings with all of their staff to help keep us the safest in the state. And our Transit Advisory Council, which Commissioner Kyler sits on, they meet every other month on the second Monday. The main goal of the TAC is to create the Transportation Development Plan, which is a grant requirement. There will be one coming up this fiscal year, so you'll hear more about that when the contractor comes in and starts getting that started. But that's essentially a big wish list of all the things that we would like to see out of the system or changes we would like to make over the next 5 years. The last TDP focused on shorter loops on the routes and some more technology. So we accomplished the change of the routes and we added the rider account fares to kind of increase our technology use, but we're still working on all of the options for technology that are out there. Anybody have any questions on service that's provided? Did I miss anything?
No, I do want to stress too. There's always confusion around the transit system, right? We hear Ride With Us's name a lot. We hear CTS, Carroll Transit, CAT's still out there. So just wanted to stress something that we hit on one of the first slides is Ride With Us is our vendor. They are a third-party contractor that operates the system for us. They do the day-to-day. They hire the drivers. They dispatch. They take calls. Our transit department here at Carroll County is, you're looking at her, just a staff of 1 right now. So obviously that gets supplemented. I believe, there's always conversations about do we take it on, do we not? And we can have some of those later conversations at the future presentations. Like Stacy mentioned, this is the contract year, so we will be going out to bid, which is why this is all going to kind of line up very nicely. If there's any input, and as we're soliciting bids, we'd love to hear from you. So keep that in mind as we run through these presentations.
Absolutely. Gentlemen, any thoughts, questions, concerns?
Just a quick question on this. We have, 2 more presentations you said regarding this? Okay. One other thing I did want to bring up, I know it's not germane to the transportation, but I know Commissioner Rothstein mentioned budget a few minutes ago on that last item. And I know you were before us, Brian, a few weeks ago talking about rental properties. I wanted to bring something to your attention, and I need to talk to Commissioner Kyler about it as well. We were looking at agricultural rental rates. There are properties in the Hampstead area where they're paying $200 an acre now. So just want to put that on your radar and staffs. We need to start looking at how we can improve on that, given what the taxpayers are putting out. So I think if we can find ways to benefit them, that would be ideal.
Yes, I have. We're just probably running some final checks on it.
Okay.
I dug in a little deeper on every single ag lease for you.
Okay.
And again, we mentioned it. It goes through public purchase.
Sure.
So, the rate is what we get.
Oh, no, I get that, but I just
Maybe-
think, if there's opportunity to find some of those individuals, because my understanding from a variety of people in the ag community is they're looking quite heavily for farmland, so it'd be great to see the county taxpayers get more than roughly 56 an acre if we could, so.
Yeah, and I'll, kind of throw this one to procurement. Maybe we can put some sort of minimum on next
Sure.
time we go out to
Okay.
to
I
bid on it.
appreciate it, I just wanted to mention it, thanks.
All right, well, thank you both very much, and thank you for your information. Up next, item 6, contract award mowing for the Carroll County Farm Museum. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Ms. Sewell, nice to see you as always.
Thank you very much. Nice to be here. The Office of Procurement in cooperation with the Department of Economic Development requests your approval to award a contract for the mowing for the Carroll County Farm Museum to Brightview Landscapes LLC in the amount of $45,130.26. The Department of Economic Development solicited bids with 6 respondents, and I would like to make a note. One of the vendor bid amounts was incorrect on your letter. Just Worked LLC, their bid total was not $414,400. It was $140,000. So the amount is within the approved budget, and no additional funds should be necessary.
We, who is the current?
The current is Outdoor Lawn and Property Services.
Really?
Was the incumbent, yeah.
How many years were they doing it?
The last time this went out to bid, I believe, was in FY18. Before that, I'm not sure off the top of my head
They've
who.
been doing it for 5-6 years.
That's correct.
And they lost this bid by $2,000.
Yes. Our solicitation was based on the lowest bid amount. Unfortunately, we don't have an incumbent preference or a local policy preference here.
Are you familiar at all with any work that Brightview Landscapes has done anywhere else?
The references that they provided on their bid were for a number of large universities, Coppin State University, UMBC, as well as a very large park down in Baltimore County, and we received responses from all 3 of those references, and they have nothing but outstanding things to say about Brightview's scheduling and personnel and efficiency, which is why we're confident in the awarding of the
It's
solicitation.
within the parameters of the guidelines you provided.
Right,
To
absolutely.
bring in the contract. I mean, yeah, I would like to see a Westminster company continue the service, but if it's within the guidelines, it's within the guidelines. You can't really do much more about it. So I'll move the Board of Commissioners award contract for the mowing for the Carroll County Farm Museum to Brightview Landscape LLC in the amount of $45,130.26.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Is there any further discussion? Well, I would like to take Commissioner Rothstein's question just a step further. I mean, we're looking at a company that is right here in Westminster. They've done the Farm Museum for how many years, Jane?
Well, it was before me. It's been, I believe, they said 2018. They've been outstanding.
Let's say 5-6 years.
And they've done satisfactory work. They do. I mean, gentlemen, I'll say it. I mean, it's. I understand that we're constrained with budgetary circumstances. It's $2,000, and I mean,
It's not
Yeah,
the budget.
procurement rules
Procurement.
require, you know, when.
I understand that, but I still have to make a case that it seems you know, it breaks my heart that this $2,000, less than $2,000 difference between a company that has managed, knows the Farm Museum, does everything they are, and has done well. And this is, unfortunately where we end up. I certainly wish that. Okay. So let me ask that. I mean, do we have to go with the lowest bidder? Legally we have no. Okay. Just wanted to make sure.
That's the. When we procure something, we can put in caveats appropriate to give us a choice between one or another. But when we put in the procurement process saying this will go to the qualified lowest bidder, then that's what you're going to come up with.
Alternatively to the request for bid, I mean, we have requests for proposals that take into factors other than price.
Right.
Proposals for this specific project don't quite fit with the scope of the project. All of our mowing contracts, not just for the Farm Museum, but for resource management, tree shelter facilities, and stormwater management sites, they're all based on lowest, most responsive bidder.
Yeah.
So to be uniform and efficient, we wanted to follow in that scope.
And I understand your point there, but I also understand where Commissioner Vigliotti's coming from, and I got to agree whether it was a Westminster or it was a Mount Airy or, wherever in the county, I'd like to see local business supported where we can. I guess the question, and we'll have to see how this plays out, how long is the term of the contract?
The initial period is just for 1 year. There are additional 1-year renewal options.
Okay.
Pending fiscal availability and vendor satisfaction.
Okay.
And that's left up to the agency, the project manager.
Okay.
There's a couple of criteria that is left up to the agency's discretion as to whether or not they want to renew it a year from now once the contract is awarded.
Okay. And I think to the examples that were given, I mean, I think there could be a vast difference between, say, the Farm Museum and how that property is maintained. Not that I'm saying we're not maintaining any of our properties, but, if there's a need for someone to come out and maintain something before, like we have, Summerfest this weekend, that's something, does that affect that? So I think, maybe at best we let it, obviously we have to go with this, but see where it is a year and see where everybody's satisfied.
Was there anything that you wanted to add, or?
Corey
Just-
covered most of it.
okay.
If you had any other questions, I can answer them.
All right, I just wanted to make sure. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? So carried. Thank you both.
And Ms. Sewell, you and your staff have a great weekend with Summerfest. I know that's 90% sold out?
I'm sorry, yes, I believe so. They're looking at around 8,000.
Wow.
That's a lot of people.
It's a lot of people.
It's awesome.
Have a good day.
Take care.
Up next, item 7, contract award, hot mix asphalt paving. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
The Office of Procurement, in cooperation with the Bureau of Engineering, requests your approval to award this contract for the 2024 hot mix asphalt paving to C.J. Miller LLC in the amount of $6,269,325. This work consists of paving approximately 23 miles on 49 county roadways. The amount is within the adopted budget.
Talk about being close as far as the two bids.
Yes.
Sharp pencils.
There's some serious sharp pencils. I'll move the Board of Commissioners award the contract for 2024 hot mix asphalt paving to
Paving 2.
Asphalt
It's a-
Paving TAC 2 to C.J. Miller LLC in the amount of $6,269,325.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? So carried.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's a toughie. 2-2.
2-2. True. Too true. Item number 8, contract award for FY25 sampling, laboratory testing, and reporting services for various water and wastewater treatment facilities. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning. Good morning.
The Office of Procurement, in cooperation with the Bureau of Utilities, requests your approval to award a contract for sampling, laboratory testing, and reporting services for various water and wastewater treatment facilities in Commissioner Districts 1, 2, 4, and 5 to Maryland Environmental Services of Millersville, Maryland, in the amount of $158,559.20. This award is being made via term contract. The proposal for this work is within the adopted budget.
I take it that 3 is because it's within the city of Westminster,
That's correct.
and they take care of their own. So I'll move the Board of Commissioners award contract in sampling, laboratory testing, and reporting services for various water and wastewater treatment facilities to Maryland Environmental Service in the amount of $158,559.20.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion. We have a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? So carried.
Good job.
Up next, item 9, approval to purchase for spending authority storm drain replacement for Stonehaven Court. Morning, everybody.
Good morning.
All right. The Office of Procurement, in cooperation with the Bureau of Roads Operations, requests your approval to award Stanbaws Incorporated and an existing term contractor a contract to perform pipe replacement on Stonehaven Court in Sykesville in the amount not to exceed $53,799. Roads Operations obtained 2 quotes from our term contractors. This amount is within the FY25 budget.
Where's Stonehaven Court?
Down off of Brangles, which is
It's off of
Millstone Valley.
Brangles.
Yeah.
You didn't know that.
I'm driving down there. I know how to get there. I was trying to think of what it was off of Brangles, and then you make a right.
Yeah.
We did another pipe job down there.
Got it.
The court prior to it
Yeah.
a few years ago.
Okay. I'll move the Board of Commissioners approve the pipe replacement on Stonehaven Court in the amount not to exceed $53,799.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? So carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 10, contract renewal for waste transfer and disposal through Northeast Maryland Waste Disposal Authority. Morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Okay. The Office of Procurement, in cooperation with the Bureau of Solid Waste, requests your approval to renew the yearly waste transfer and disposal contract with Northeast Maryland Waste Disposal Authority in the amount not to exceed $6,188,100. Funds for this scope of work are approved in the fiscal year 2025 Solid Waste Enterprise Fund operating budget. Under this arrangement, Republic Services is to load, transfer, and dispose of waste from Northern Landfill Processing Facility and Transfer Station at Republic Services Modern Landfill in York, Pennsylvania. The county's contract is held with Northeast Maryland Waste Disposal Authority, who in turn holds a service agreement with Republic Services.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Just a little bit of background. Through our membership in the Northeast Authority, an RFP was advertised in 2017 and an agreement consummated in 2018 with Republic Services Group for the transfer and disposal of waste from Northern Landfill Transfer Station. The scope of work also includes the actual operations of the transfer station, too, so they handle everything soup to nuts on the project. The current agreement had an initial term of 3 years with 7 subsequent 1-year renewals at the county's sole discretion, which is also a nice feature of that agreement. One thing I don't have here noted is there also is pricing in that agreement for the local POTWs, the local wastewater plants, to dispose of sludge at Modern as well. So there is some beneficial pricing in there, and Westminster and a few others do take advantage of it. Fiscal 2025 represents year 7 of the overall 10-year agreement. Current service charge for fiscal 25 will be $61.66 per ton. That could be adjusted based on fuel surcharges if the prices go up, but that's the base cost. And we respectfully request the board's approval to renew the agreement for fiscal 2025 in that amount not to exceed $6,188,100.
Well, I appreciate it's respectful. That's very nice. Is there a question about, or I have a question about PFAS any PFAS issue in any of this prior to its transfer, or no?
Not that we are aware of. We're not monitoring the trash for PFAS. We have not been required to.
And we want to
On
keep it
either
that
end,
way?
from our
Okay.
end or their end,
Yeah,
yet.
yeah, exactly.
Sorry.
I move the Board of Commissioners renew the waste transfer and disposal contract for the Northeast Maryland Waste Disposal Authority in the amount not to exceed $6,188,100.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? So carried.
Thank you.
Up next, contract renewal for solid waste engineering services through Northeast Maryland Waste Disposal Authority. Gentlemen, you're on again.
The Office of Procurement, in cooperation with the Bureau of Solid Waste, requests your approval to renew the yearly solid waste engineering services contract with the Northeast Maryland Waste Disposal Authority in the amount of $346,108.81. Funds for the scope of work are approved in the fiscal 2025 budget.
Okay, Commissioners, in 2023, the authority solicited proposals for consultants in the field of solid waste and environmental engineering on behalf of all the member jurisdictions. Contract work for this particular job includes providing step back. Contract work includes providing term and on-call solid waste engineering services for the members on a as-needed or an infinite delivery basis. 12 engineering consultants were procured under or retained under that procurement. In fiscal '23, the Bureau of Solid Waste engaged Stearns, Conrad, and Schmidt, otherwise known as SCS Engineers, through that contract to perform landfill gas system operations, maintenance, monitoring, and reporting for Northern Landfill, Hoods Mill Landfill, and the John Owings Landfill. Those are the three facilities where we actually have active landfill gas collection systems. SCS has performed this work for Carroll County for at least the last 10 years and have done exceptional work. The fiscal '25 scope of work, however, has been expanded to address new landfill gas monitoring procedures and requirements from the MDE, as well as to perform some needed gas flare repairs at Northern Landfill and at Hoods Mill Landfill. Those units are getting pretty old and are in need of some work that we cannot do. Therefore, we respectfully request board approval to renew the contract for fiscal '25 in the amount of $346,108.81.
They really are respectful.
Very respectful. Is the price going to go down? You said it went up.
It went up. The reason that it went up in legislative session in 2022,
Yeah.
it was SB 528, I believe, was the overall climate change, climate action law that came out. And out of that came regulations, COMAR 261142, which was the control of methane emissions from municipal waste landfills. And we have to go and basically double the monitoring activities at those three, or at least at Northern Landfill and some additional at the other two. If that's ever repealed or otherwise changed, then they'll decrease. But I think this is probably going to be the new normal going forward.
It's a shame. Okay, I'll move the Board of Commissioners renew the solid waste engineering services contract for the Northeast Maryland Waste Disposal Authority in the amount of $346,108.81.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? So carried.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, gentlemen. Next up, item number 12, update software in compliance with National Emergency Response Information System, also known as NERIS.
All right. The Office of Procurement, in cooperation with the Department of Fire and EMS, requests your approval to award the software update and related services to emergency management software in the amount of $29,323.91. This software update will be used to maintain compliance with the National Emergency Response Information System. This amount is approved in the fiscal year '25 budget.
And I do believe we have a new friend among us today.
Yes, sir. The new Deputy Chief of Fire and EMS, Paul Supko. This is my first meeting here, and I believe Commissioner Gordon is the only one I haven't personally met yet.
We'll have to do something about that, sir. Appreciate
Absolutely.
it.
Commissioner, would you like a little bit of background?
Yes, sir, please.
Okay. In July 2021, ESO, the emergency management software company, acquired DFEM's current records management system, ERS. ERS is a cloud-based EMS and fire data management system, and Carroll County has 14 separate databases for each company. Data is reported to the Maryland State Fire Marshal's office using 14 identification numbers for one for each station. In May of 2023, the United States Fire Administration, Department of Homeland Security, Science and Technology Directorate, and the Fire Safety Rescue Institute entered a contract to develop a new emergency response information system for our country. It's called the National Emergency Reporting Information System. NERIS will replace the existing data framework, National Fire Reporting System, which we currently use with our ERS. NERIS will reduce data entry burdens on firefighters and change the variables to focus on factors such as incident type and actions taken, so reporting has more practical value. NERIS requires a significant software update to the current records management system. Presently, the federal government has begun a NERIS pilot program with 50 select fire departments nationwide, and as November 2024, Phase 1 of NERIS implementation will be released. To remain compliant with federal standards, DFEMs must convert their records management system to NERIS compliant systems. Since DFEMs already uses ERS, which has been acquired by ESO, it's a natural choice to continue the same vendor. This software conversion will also include merging 14 separate databases into one single silo countywide database with one FDID number for county, simplifying state and federal data reporting.
Well, thank you very much. Gentlemen, any questions, thoughts, concerns?
Okay, so I'm going to broach something. I'm a member of the ESAC, so I get I get very deep into some of our emergency services, and the advisement is there too. This seems like a no-brainer to me. I mean, you have to do this. And then there is a question regarding, and we've had a brief discussion about it. There's sort of a 15th module, if I may, regarding warehouse asset management.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
There's a debate right now as to whether that's needed or not. My understanding is that CC Visa is funding that module for the next year, and the issue is either the money, and I hope it's not the money. I mean, I know 5,000 is a lot of money, but or it's the process we're trying to work through to make sure that that particular module integrates properly. Maybe it's a business process, maybe it's a tech process. I'm not entirely certain. So, is that accurate?
That is accurate.
Okay. All right.
So,
There's 14 different stations, as everybody knows.
Yep.
Does 14 things different ways. Katie, as the data analyst, you're experiencing that right now, and I know you're working through it. So, congrats for that. Appreciate it. I move the Board of Commissioners approve the software update and related services to emergency management software in the amount of $29,323.91.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? So carried. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Next, item number 13, contract award for the removal and installation of fire suppression storage tank 101F123/24. It's a very, very specific storage tank.
Yes, very specific.
You say you're here alone, unafraid.
Oh, definitely, I got backup.
Yeah.
Dean's been helping. Mike, I guess, is running a little late.
Who's supposed to be here?
Mike Hughes with Fire and EMS. I called him earlier to let him know that this was going a little bit quicker than what he thought. Do we need to push it off, or do you want me to go ahead and go?
Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
Absolutely.
Please do.
That's what deputies do. Okay, thank you.
All right. The Office of Procurement, in cooperation with the Department of Fire and EMS, requests your approval to award the contract to remove, dispose of, and install one 30,000-gallon underground water storage tank for fire protection to be located at 5535 Woodbine Road in Woodbine, Maryland, at the entrance of Krimgold Park, in the amount of $208,935.55. This amount is within the approved budget. The Department of Fire and EMS solicited bids with 4 respondents. And there's a list there. And I'll give you that for the background.
Does this tank exist? And
Yes, sir.
it's just going to be replaced and put in
So,
place?
so it exists, I can help you out. It exists and it ruptured. And so it has not been functional for a time now. And it meets a very significant need for that area of the county to provide fire suppression water in a very remote area. And so not, it's an emergency repair basically needed by the rupture. Land moved and
Deputy, you did that really, really
Yeah.
well.
he didn't even have to move his lips.
I mean, I thought I saw maybe like something, but I'll move the Board of Commissioners award the contracting for the fire suppression water storage tank project for 5535 Woodbine Road, Woodbine, Maryland, Crimgold Park, Two Groves Groundworks LLC, in the amount of $208,935.55.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion?
And we'll just give Mr. Hughes a pass because he could be out fighting a fire. We don't know what he's doing, so.
Exactly.
It's okay.
Absolutely.
We did try other things, we investigated all sorts of other options to see if we could repair it in ground, et cetera, and it was determined that really this was the only course of action, so.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? So carried. Thank you both very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So next up, public comment. Do we have anybody here for public comment or on the line, Matt?
No, sir.
All right, then we'll go. I'm sorry?
Sorry, I said no, sir.
Oh, thank you very much. All right, we will move into agenda review. Good morning, Wanda.
Good morning.
So for the week of August 26th, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday show nothing. Open session Thursday, August 29th, beginning at 9 o'clock a.m. with a closed administrative before that at 8. Priority Carol, including International Overdose Awareness Day 2024 proclamation, Disaster Preparedness Month proclamation. Item 1, grant acceptance of award for the Maryland Criminal Intelligence Network. Item 2, municipality request to amend the Carroll County FY 2025 Program Open Space Annual Program. Item 3, approval to purchase 1 Horton ambulance. Item 4, approval to purchase a Clark S25 pneumatic tire forklift. Item number 5, approval to purchase a Kentworth T880 roll-off. Item 6, approval to purchase a 2025 Peterbilt 520 paint truck. Item 7, approval to purchase a John Deere 544P wheel loader. Item 8, installation of residential water meter vaults on Norris Avenue. Item 9, approval to purchase access control camera security system. Item number 10, contract award for final design services, but it doesn't specify specifically what yet.
It'll be a little bit more clearly identified before next week, no problem. Maybe it's
Obviously,
just for everything.
public comment, agenda review, and then a closed afterwards for technology services. And then we will be reconvening in open session at 1 o'clock in the afternoon for a master plan work session. Friday shows nothing, Saturday shows nothing, and I have the podcast for the following week, which brings us any changes, amendments, submissions, corrections? That brings us to week number 2. Monday, September 2nd, county offices closed in observance of Labor Day. Who does that? Who closes on Labor Day? Tuesday, September 3rd, Commissioner Kyler will be attending the Republican Club of Carroll County at the Westminster Senior and Community Center in Westminster. September 4th, Wednesday, September 4th, Commissioner Gordon has Planning and Zoning Commission. Then Thursday, September 5th, closed admin and open session for the Board of Commissioners. And Priority Carroll, National Suicide Prevention Month proclamation. And then Recovery Month 2024 proclamation. Item 1, information briefing and presentation of the annual report for the local care team. Item number 2, introduction, discussion, possible decision for comment, letter, and zoning waiver for Mount Airy Annexation Number 46, Pank Land Property. Obviously, also public comments, agenda review, and then on Friday evening, September 6th, I will be attending the 100th anniversary of the Chamber of Commerce at Antrim in Tawnytown. Saturday shows nothing, and then Commissioner Kyler has the podcast for the following week. Any additions, corrections, amendments to the agendas? So with nothing else, we need a motion to go into
To close for land
closed
acquisition.
for land acquisition, and then to adjourn thereafter.
Motion to go into close for land acquisition and adjourn thereafter.
Have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? So carried.